Gran Turismo has no business being as good as it was, so let's talk about it. And since this movie hasn't come out yet, this will be a spoiler-free review, even though it is a non-fiction story, so you could just kind of look up the spoilers. But anyway, if you want to see what I rated this movie on a scale of 1 to 10, head over to my shorts or my TikTok and check out my one-take movie review on this movie. But without further ado, let's talk about the movie Gran Turismo. So this movie was a lot better than I expected it to be, and it was just a blast to watch. I mean, seriously, this movie is a lot of fun. It's definitely one of the better video game movies we've gotten, but in terms of a sports drama, it didn't necessarily do anything special, but it still is a really good movie and it delivered on everything it wanted to do. So let's get into what this thing is about. So in this movie, we follow the true story of Jan Martinborough, who wants to become a pro race car driver. And as one of the best Gran Turismo gamers, Jan is selected to compete in a contest that will finally allow him to become that race car driver that he dreams to be. Jumping right into the good, and the first thing I have here is, in my opinion, the best part of the movie, and that is the racing scenes. The way these racing scenes were shot were so good. I mean, it was a bunch of close-ups and quick cuts, and it really made these scenes feel super intense. And I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't get chills while watching some of these scenes, because they were just that good. And honestly, I mean this when I say this, but if this movie was just racing scenes, I probably still would have walked out of the theater super happy with what I just watched. But one thing I did enjoy about this movie is that even though it did have a solid, feel-good underdog story and really handled the drama parts of this movie really well, it still knew it was a racing movie, and that most of the people that are probably going to come see this movie are going to be fans of the game, and they're just going to want to see cool cars racing, and this movie delivered on that front. So big round of applause to the directors, because they crafted some really awesome, intense, edge-of-your-seat racing scenes that honestly, I would recommend people go see this movie just to see those scenes. And next up for the good, I have David Harbour. Now, as expected, David Harbour did great in this movie, and honestly, he's just at the point in his career where no matter what the role is, he's gonna elevate it and make it a lot better. And even though his character was a pretty cliche mentor, he still played it to perfection. I mean, his charisma on screen was just a lot of fun to watch. And yes, his character arc was pretty predictable, but he was so good that I still felt invested in his character, and I genuinely cared about what happened to his character in this movie. And this leads me right into what I have next for the good, and that is the relationship between our two main characters, Jan and Jack Salter. This relationship was truly the heart of the film, which is something I was genuinely surprised by. This movie had a lot of heart, especially towards the end of the movie. I mean, it really carried the movie. David Harbour and Archie Madekwe had great chemistry on screen and had some really good emotional moments in there as well. I mean, there was one towards the end of the movie where their two characters had a heart-to-heart, and it's one of the best moments in this entire film. I won't get into the specifics because I don't want to spoil it, but just know that this relationship is really the meat that holds this film together. And finally, for the good, and I just wanted to touch on this since this is a video game movie, but it does have plenty of references to the game, and I think it does a really good job with it. And these video game references clearly show up during, well, all the racing scenes as expected. And honestly, when I was a kid, I probably played this game maybe once or twice, so there's probably plenty of other video game references that I missed, but the ones that I did notice, I definitely appreciated. And one thing I think they did really well with these video game references is that they didn't oversaturate the movie with them. I mean, you could definitely tell that they were there and when they made a reference to the game in the movie, but it never felt like they were relying on these references to help sell this movie or appeal to all the video game fans that are going to see this movie. Moving on to the so-so, and the only thing I have here is the relationship that Jan had with his dad. Now, I'll try not to spoil it, but I did like the direction that they were going with that relationship. It just feel like they didn't really expand on it throughout the movie. It's very prevalent in the beginning of the movie, but then they just kind of forget about it and then come back to it in the end. And I don't think it was bad by any means. I just wish they would have sprinkled that relationship throughout the movie a little bit more. Plus, his dad was played by none other than Djimon Hounsou, and he's a phenomenal actor, and I would have just loved to see more of him in this movie. And finally, getting into the bad, and the only thing I have here is that this movie did get off to a pretty rough start. I mean, those first 20 to 30 minutes weren't the best in my opinion. It just jumped around a lot there in the beginning and moved really fast, and you didn't really get to know any of the other characters outside of Yan in those first 20 to 30 minutes of the movie. And honestly, it just felt like they wanted to skip over all this and just get to the racing stuff as quickly as they possibly could. So at the end of the day, I don't necessarily know if this took away from the movie, but I will say once you get past those first 20 to 30 minutes of the movie, it is smooth sailing all the way through. But overall, Gran Turismo is really good for a video game movie. It has amazing racing scenes and packs in a lot of heart. And even though it is a bit cliche for an underdog story, it still is an absolute blast to watch and is a must-see movie, especially if you're a fan of the game. Those are my thoughts on Gran Turismo. Be sure to let me know what you thought of the movie down in the comments, and as always, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, get your Eazy Apparel at shopeasyapparel.com. God bless, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.